Howie Zales is an Emmy Award-winning camera operator who turned his passion for television broadcasting into several entrepreneurial endeavors. Howie created HJZ Productions, Inc. to address the need for professional-level sports crewing and staffing in the New York market. And under his leadership, HJZ Productions grew to a multi-million-dollar nationwide provider of top talent in the broadcasting field. In 2019, Howie and his team founded Viridity Entertainment Services, Inc., which initially focused on staffing in non-union markets. But with the onset of COVID-19 pandemic in early 2020, they quickly pivoted to offering best-in-class broadcast quality live streams of professional sports shows, interviews, corporate interviews and meetings, and religious services. In addition, Howie took his love of the television production business and created the TV Sports Course, a hands-on training boot camp for the next generation of television crew professionals. Well, Howie, I didn't, Eddie's kind of looked at some of your stuff, but talk a little bit more about your background, because, he spent his whole career thus far also in media. You have a unique media background, but, I figured you guys can, kind of get to know each other a little bit better, but a little bit of your background. And then, then we'll start diving into questions about, what can people learn from you that, will make what they do better if they're trying to be on television, they're especially trying to do things remote, just to get a better visual. But your background is fascinating. So tell us a little bit.
Yeah. So my background is in sports and entertainment television. I shot with NBC Sports for over 20 years, the World Wrestling Entertainment for over 20 years. With NBC, I've been in multiple Super Bowls, Olympics, Kentucky Derbies, Notre Dame football for over 20 years. Cool. If there's a ball and it's on TV, I've shot it.
Are you handheld? Do you
yes, handheld. And that's why I kind of had to stop. Is my back is just had enough. My back and neck. 20-something years of handheld.
Well, that's cool. You're right there in the action, right?
I've had
you're not multiple up high shooting. You're right there. That's great.
Multiple concussions from getting hit.
Oh man!
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. So sometimes we may have to ask you questions twice, just so you see if we get a different answer each time.
No, I've been knocked out twice on the football field, and once I got hit in the head with a line drive doing baseball.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Who would have known that your job would be that dangerous?
Yeah, you feel free to ask me about it. They're good stories. So I was doing low third at Shea Stadium, where the Mets used to play before Citi Field.
Sure.
And low third, baseball, and like all sports, you have responsibilities depending on what's going on in the game. So my responsibility at the time was to shoot the lead runner who was on second base, because there's a right-handed batter up. So you're always taught to watch the pitch. So I have my camera on the runner and I'm watching the pitch. Next thing I know, I end up in the hospital. Wow. So what was told to me was that the Joe McCune from the Mets, it was like an off-speed pitch. So he right out in front of it and pulled it down the third base sideline. And I was the first one there because there was 3 cameras, and it hit me right in the head. Oh. And I fell into the Colorado Rockies dugout. Oh, but when I fell like 7 feet into the dugout. And then when I fell, my camera kind of got like jerked over to the pitcher's mound, and the pitcher kept walking around the pitcher's circle because they were like tending to me in the dugout. So there was like a timeout in the game. On the 4th time, he walks off the pitcher's mound onto the grass, and they're using my camera each time. And on the 4th time, I didn't pan with him because I was 7 feet below. Wow. And they're yelling at me.
They didn't.
And then they're yelling at me, and then by a few seconds later, word kind of got back to our TV truck that it was me that was hit.
Wow.
Like, Howie, how are you missing what's going on?
Yeah. They're like, stay with the pitcher, stay with the pitcher. And I'm like,
can't do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not only was that like heavy just carrying around the camera that long, but you actually were, I would never think about you putting yourself in danger, but of course you would be.
Right there, I have a bump.
Oh my gosh. How long ago was that?
2004-ish.
Jeez.
So then after you recovered, you just came back and started doing camera work again, or
Yeah.
you were more careful, or
Yeah, just more careful. I did some center field camera work for baseball.
sure, right, right.
And now, now there's netting up.
Mhm.
So a lot of the fans are protected and the coaches have to wear helmets now.
Interesting.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Jeez. Wow. Yeah, who would have known?
I shot like the backstage vignettes that kind of move the storylines along, whether it was
Mhm.
fight scenes backstage or interviews backstage or uh whatever the writing team dreamed up.
Wait,
But
you mean it's not real?
so they like to say that it's real as possible without people getting hurt. So they do hit each other a lot, but a
Yeah.
lot of times when they go to hit, right, they'll hit it with their other hand, they'll hit their leg,
Mm.
right?
Nice.
So it's the
Mhm.
sound of sounds like it's hitting skin or hitting a body part, but your
Mhm.
eye doesn't see it because you're seeing right.
Interesting.
Dude.
Okay.
Or they'll stomp on the ring, they'll with their foot
Yeah,
and
yeah,
make the
yeah.
sound, and it kind of plays a little mind game with your brain.
Interesting.
So you can actually control a little bit of your environment and what's visual and what's auditory if you
Mhm.
just plan it out correctly.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things, Eddie, that Howie and I were talking about was how he pivoted with his company because he's done a couple things. He's, helped with staffing, in camera positions all over. He's helped he's run a lot of different projects related to this. But one of the things that he found in the pandemic was, okay, now what do we do? Because we're not going out and shooting a lot of things live. And he's created a new company that will be able to ship everything. If you're going to do a live feed somewhere, you're going to stream, whether it's a conference for work or you're going to do a live broadcast from the Olympics back or something, that he actually sends the people who are going to be interviewed everything they need to do it flawlessly. And then he and his team orchestrate it. So that's a little intro on that. But Howie, tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, we have 25 contributor kits, camera kits, we like to call them. They're high-end laptops with cameras, ring lights, microphones, Ethernet cables, and we ship these computers out and with a QR code on how to set it up. And then through like a Zoom call, we'll coach the contributor on how to set it up. And once the computer is connected to their internet, hopefully through an Ethernet cable that we provide, we get notice of it on our end, and then we could dial into the computer and take control. We can open up, Chrome, the browser. We can open up the camera program. We can zoom, focus, white balance the camera, open up the microphone program, and change any microphone settings before it leaves uh, the computer, so we're not manipulating it on the back end, we're manipulating it on the front end, and things like that. And then over the internet we bring the contributor into our production, and it makes it easy for them, and that way the books behind them are not in focus, their eyes are in focus because we're controlling it. And yeah, that's
Fabulous. So did you rent all this equipment, or did you
No,
purchase, or?
we bought it. Interesting story. We bought five setups, and then our client came back and said their client wanted to do a shoot with 20 people, but 10 one night, 10 the next night. So that meant we needed to get 15 more and have
Mhm.
some backup on the side. So we
Sure.
bought 20 more,
Wow.
and we spent a lot of money and
I
a lot of time setting them up, but it's been worthwhile because you know we and my sons, they work on updating the computers every few weeks, keeping all the programs up to date.
So let's say I hire you and I'm going to be on Good Morning America.
Yeah.
So what direction or what advice would you give me to look my best for a Zoom call or whatever type of call?
Yeah, so first I would recommend plugging into your router using Ethernet, not Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Making sure that someone in your house, other people in your household, are not streaming a Netflix movie or playing video games that require a lot of internet interaction. That's
Okay.
not going to draw from your signal.
Okay.
Making sure that you have a good internet up and download speed. You can do that prior to any appearance by just going into Chrome, typing speed space test, speed test, and checking your speed test that way and making sure that you have good internet. If not, then, you know, upping your service if that's a possibility. And sometimes people don't even realize that their router is kind of out of date or it's old, and
Yep.
just replacing the router that the cable company or your internet company provides you sometimes is even a good a helpful step. You want to have balanced and equal light. How you kind of see on my face, the lighting is equal. And you want to have a good camera and good audio.
But you'll send all that, right? If somebody hires you,
Yep.
you'll send all that. So
Yep.
obviously I'm in my house and I just have a tiny ring light where you can see the reflections here. And then I have a
Yeah.
lamp. I just have like a regular house lamp. But so also being a camera person and you know how to frame shots. If you look at all three of us, okay, so you have a plain background, right? Michael has has the painting and the window and a few books, and I got like everything all over the place. But I'm trying to put my head in the blank white. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I see
I'm
that.
trying to put myself there so you could see the other stuff. So
Yep.
so if you were directing somebody or giving your input, any input on Michael or me or yourself, so whoever's watching could learn from what you're.
Yeah. You always want something staggered depth, right? And I'm guilty of not having this. So I'm here, right? And then my background is there. You want something in between to give you kind of like a depth of field where it's not just
So like me, I got a piano
yeah,
over here, I got a guitar,
yeah.
I have the depth.
And so we're creating something for my background. I've been on thousands of TV shows. I have all these credentials from everywhere I've been. So we're going to create something that comes out of the ceiling where the credentials just kind of float here,
Nice. Okay.
and we'll hit it with a light. So
Sure.
there are kinds of stuff like that where it's not just you know flat.
Okay.
And my background is peel and stick wallpaper.
Okay.
Which I love. I thought that was great. And that
Yeah.
makes me, I know people laugh at my yoga dog, but it does give them something else to look at. And then they're subconsciously seeing my books. So, and I figure that with my hair pink, it's a good time for my fake plastic orchid. So it might not always be the most professional background, but it does work. And luckily the cat is not joining us at the moment. And she likes to do that every once in a while.
Oh, I can't tell you how many shows we've had dogs and cats just
And I think
jump right up.
people like that.
Yeah.
When we were doing all our correspondence from home, Lara Spencer would have her dog there, and she would have the treat. You could see her giving the dog the treat because she wanted the dog on the set. And,
Yeah.
there's a warmth to it, right?
Absolutely.
I always laugh because whenever Lara was doing that, the dog was only behaving in between shots. And the moment that she'd come on, the dog was going crazy. So it was pretty funny. Eddie, when you guys, let's talk about that for a minute. So when the world shut down and everybody was, working from home, how did you guys on GMA navigate that? Similar kind of thing, like just getting everybody to try and have all the pieces and parts they needed in their homes when they were, dialing in from home?
Well, my main job is a stage manager. So I was still on the set, and we had initially Robin was centered. We had a semicircle desk. We had Michael Robin and George, and we made sure they were 6 feet apart, so COVID safe. And then everybody else was in their houses or offices or whatever, so they were on Zooms. There was a lot of technical issues, but like Howie, his company could control the sound and the video and the cameras and all that. And in a network situation, we have video operators, and we have we have LDs, and we have audio people that could adjust prior to coming on air. But it wasn't perfect, even on network level. But I think most people nowadays are used to the internet and Zoom, and they don't expect everything to be absolutely perfect. But if you could get as good quality as possible, it makes it better, because then you could concentrate more on what the person's saying, because you're not
we're
seeing other stuff or bad production.
We're doing high-end shows with high-end talent that are being paid a lot of money for their time, and the clients are paying a lot of money, and they want it to look as professional, as broadcast quality as possible.
And I think that, what you guys just brought up it's really important for anybody, because controlling what you can control in your environment will give you a better overall feel. People will pay more attention to you rather than the distractions. But, even the simple things, Howie, that you reminded me of, like, plugging right into the Ethernet instead of using the Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I'd heard somebody say that. But then you also reminded me, turn off your Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Then make sure you turn that off, so you're not competing for that signal between the Ethernet and the Wi-Fi. But one thing that I do whenever I go live,
like,
what was that, Eddie?
Where do you turn off the Wi-Fi? On the computer or on the router?
The computer.
On the computer.
Because your computer will go to get the Wi-Fi, will go to use Wi-Fi first.
Oh, so I don't know what I got right now.
Well, don't turn it off right now.
Don't turn it off right now.
I'm not going to do anything, but I think I see the Wi-Fi icon in my upper right. So I don't know if I'm using Wi-Fi right now. I guess I am.
Oh, yeah. Well, unless you're plugged in directly, but probably using Wi-Fi. But that, it makes so much sense. And the first time I actually did my first live feed with 6 ABC News a couple of years ago, I at least thought beforehand, because my husband was still working at home, I said, I'm going to be going live, on their noon show. I need you to not have any meetings. You cannot be doing anything on Zoom. Turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your phone Wi-Fi, turn off the iPad Wi-Fi. We shut everything down. Because I was so nervous about having anything disrupt, especially a live feed. And we were talking a lot the other day, Howie, about streaming and how important that live feed is to have the impact.
Yeah, we were doing a cooking show about a year ago. And we were, all our cameras were up. We were using 4 cameras, and then the talent came in with their team, right? We go to mic them up, we go to do a rehearsal, and all of a sudden we lost all of our bandwidth. And we were like, what is going on? Because we had rented this house for the production. We're outside in this trailer. And it turns out that one of the assistants of one of the talent started downloading like movies on his computer. And we were like flipping out. And as soon as we got information to him to stop, our bandwidth just exploded.
Wow.
He's like, I really need to see Die Hard 3. I've never seen it.
It wasn't even Christmas time,
That's right. It is a Christmas movie, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that the big debate? Are all the Die Hard movies Christmas movies, or are they just thrillers? I love it. Oh, well, I think all these pieces are so important to have, not only a great visual, to have great streaming to come across well, but my big theory, and a lot of the reason for, this virtual conference as well, is to remember that it's not just about how well you show up. It's about how well that person who's hiring you to speak, that news station that's bringing you on to be the expert, the video you're trying to stream live because you want to become the next pizza taster for, Yelp or whatever the new pizza job is, because everybody's got a new job they're hiring for. That it also makes a better relationship with that person who's bringing you in to speak, or that wants you to be on their live feed for their noon broadcast. If you want to get asked back, you better make a really good impression, especially the first time. And by taking some of these steps ahead of time and being cognizant of them, you have a better chance over somebody who hasn't been paying attention to what these details really mean to your overall look and feel and sound.
Yeah. And coming from the TV background, we rehearse. So if you're giving a speech, to a talk, to showing up, know what you're going to say, have an idea of what you're going to be asked, and just rehearse everything. Don't wait for the last minute to sign in and show up.
Exactly. And don't forget to restart your computer, because I had to do that a couple times today. I love it.
Your wardrobe also has a play in it too. If you're gonna be on camera, white clothing is a bad color of choice. Also something very, very dark, because it like sucks the light. You just and tight woven patterns in a lot of cases cause the camera to what's the technical word for it? Moray. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I don't even know what moray means. What's moray mean? I just thought that was an eel.
Yeah. It's basically a tight woven pattern that almost looks like your image is moving, because the camera can't lock on it.
Is green still a no-no unless you're, because I've always wondered if that's only a no-no and if you're on, a set
Green
that has
screen?
a green screen.
Yeah. Well, green is actually, I've heard that green is a color that gets people's attention. So if you're not doing a green screen, and I would highly recommend not doing, especially if you're using Zoom, one of the, virtual backgrounds. To me, that's the most annoying thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Because it's never a clean key, and you're always seeing the edges and moving, and it's taking your eyes away. But green like the eyes go to green, so it makes people pay attention more, from what I've read.
I totally agree with the whole point too about the virtual backgrounds. And you've proven that you don't have to have a huge space to have something that looks great. I know that you're going to add more depth and things like that, but to put just up wallpaper that looks like, beautiful reclaimed wood behind you, people might look at this and go, oh, that could be, a virtual background, but it's not. And the definition of you is much better. And we're not distracted by where you fade in and out of it. And when you kind of lose somebody in that, because it can happen very easily. And doesn't that also take up some of the bandwidth that you're trying to use to have a better presentation?
It's possible. And it's just, to me, it's annoying, because it just never works the way it's supposed to. And if you do a chroma key, that's what the technical term is, on TV for real, you're supposed to have a lot of light on the background. So you're doing something electronically that's not supposed to be done that way. And it just, it doesn't work well.
I'm hoping that we're not going to be in this Zoom virtual mode forever and ever. So obviously you're a professional camera person that has worked so many wonderful professional events and different shows and broadcasts. So what advice would you give a person that wants to be on camera but not in Zoom? So is there anything on a set or a location, a certain way to sit, stand, the way, because you're the camera person, you see right through that lens. So you see a lot of times more than what the director's actually saying. So any advice, if you were setting up an interview and I was there, what would, anything to help me look my best?
Yeah. First of all, I would get a chair that doesn't move, no wheels.
Great.
Because that you're not, like this, you're not going out of frame. I have four, my chair does not move. So you want to stay as still as possible. Make sure you're sitting high up, with your back comfortable, because a lot of times when you're in if you're going back and forth with someone in an interview, you're in a two box sometimes for an answer, right? And they've adjusted your camera in the box so your shoulders line up with the person who's interviewing or you're talking with. So if you're going to slouch from here and go to here, you're messing up the look of the two box, and it just looks sloppy.
Interesting. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
When
fascinating.
you watch the news tonight or a show, watch like the shoulders and the tops of the head. They're always going to be lined up.
Well, and that's so funny because I've seen people that I know aren't the same height.
Yeah.
And I always wonder why they look so equal when they're sitting down. You
Yeah.
can't put Strahan with me. It's just not going to work because it's going to be like this. But I bet you if we did it right, it would look okay. I'd look tall.
Strahan is all legs. So he's more legs and smaller torso. So depending on the chair, if it's a regular chair that looks good for a person who's 5'10", then you get Strahan. It looks like he has all legs and stuff.
Right.
So and then sometimes we put cushions underneath certain people, so we elevate their torso, stuff like that.
Oh, that's really smart. I never thought of that. And it is important too, because as you present that way, you want to, again, not be distracted or have the audience distracted by how you're either coming in and out of focus or out of the line or out of the box in the case you're saying. What else? Anything else? Any other good tidbits for us?
You want to make sure you've had, water before you're going to be on camera, so your mouth is not dry. You don't want to show up, have something that can cause you to choke, eat something right before that can cause you to choke. You just think about things. Go to the bathroom before you're going to be on camera, so you don't have to worry about things like that.
I do videos once a week, and if I have coffee before, you get gassy or stuff, or you have bubbly water. So sometimes it's better just have straight water so you don't,
Yep.
That is true. And don't have like popcorn right before.
Right.
And definitely don't eat spinach.
Spinach,
no spinach. Yeah. No almonds.
No almonds.
I love it. Howie, this is fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I'm so glad we had you on here as well as the podcast, but to not only share a lot of your great stories and your background, but your perspective from behind that camera. Because if we can be more cognizant of what you need and what you're seeing behind that camera, and we can apply it to what we're doing on the other side, then we can all deliver something much more substantial.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And let me add one thing too. So Howie being a camera person, right, and me being a stage manager, if we're in a studio, we work very close to each other, right?
Yes.
So if you're an on-camera person, you want to listen to the crew. A lot of times there's bookers and producers, but we're the crew. We're there every single day. We're the ones that are going to try to make you look good, right? I'll sit you down. I'll make sure that you're looking good and this and that. The camera person's going to frame you up and this and that. But if any of us give any input, receive it and say thank you. And listen, we've been around 20, 25, 30 years. So
because it's our job to make you look good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Eddie, that is so brilliant, because it can be easy. And you and I've talked about this kind of in a couple different manners, that sometimes it can be easy to be like there on studio and be enamored by the talent. And you're like, oh, there's George, there's Robin, there's Strahan. But instead to realize, and that's great and enjoy them. But like you said, everybody else in that room, and there's a lot of people, are what are going to make you as the guest look good. So listen, be polite, be cognizant, and take all the advice you have, because everyone in that room is also somebody who's going to say whether or not they want you back. Now that may or may not get you back or keep you away, but if people go, oh, she was so great to work with, or he was awesome, I loved how he interacted with us and took our advice, then that's just one more way to get yourself known as the person who wants to be a part of the solution, the end goal.
Right.
True.
And even if we don't give advice, but when you come onto a set, you kind of feel out the set and see if everybody's really serious, or if people are joking around or people are friendly, and you kind of mold yourself into that. And I've learned that also as a stage manager, because early in my career, I freelanced and I worked at a lot of places. So I might have a personality and I might do things a certain way, but if I go into a certain set, I got to kind of feel it out and kind of fit that. And then once I kind of fit it, I could kind of be myself a little bit. So I think if you're an on-air person and you're walking onto the set, just kind of check out the vibe, be nice to people, say hi to people, afterwards, thank people, you know,
Absolutely.
because we'll remember. And we're the people that have been around for years and years and years. And if somebody later on, a producer or on air, say, hey, did you like that person? Or, we give our inputs too. And so you want to treat everybody with kindness and professional and,
And if you're on Good Morning America, you better get your picture taken with Eddie Luisi, because he will continue to use it for the next 35 years in his Facebook post. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. I really am glad we get to add it to the mix.
Yeah,
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, fabulous.